sensitive people. I also do Reiki, angelic Reiki, and tree Reiki and support individuals with emotional, physical, and soul level healing. Today, we are going to talk about a very required topic, and a topic that's very close to my heart. And it is about sensitivity in men. I have done a video for this channel a few weeks ago where I have spoken about why sensitivity in men is important, acknowledging that topic is important. And today I just felt really inspired to speak about it at length. So let's do this, shall we? Let's start off with what is sensitivity. Every time I speak about my work, the first question most people ask me is, Pranita, what is sensitivity? We'd love to know. And I tell them that sensitivity is when a person has higher degrees of awareness towards their emotions, thoughts, energies, and other people's emotions, thoughts, and energies. And this awareness comes from not being different per se, but from being a, a person or an individual who has a genetic makeup that is slightly different than the average human being. And I'd like to share that there is nothing wrong in being sensitive. There is nothing wrong in being highly sensitive. I identify as a highly sensitive person, and for the longest time, I have felt as though this is who I am and this is who I'm meant to be, and that's okay. Although it has taken a lot of time for me to accept and embrace my sensitivity and my higher degrees of awareness, especially with energetic sensitivity, I think that has been the most difficult aspect of being sensitive. And when you're sensitive, it's not just one thing. You're not just sensitive to just emotions or just thoughts, just energy. It's everything. And that can be quite overwhelming. So if you're here and trying to understand why am I here, I think the best place to start off is by asking yourself a question. Have you ever been in a crowded place or a space with really high levels of noise and felt as though you were panicking, you were overwhelmed, and you needed to go back home, or almost find a safe space for yourself because that was quite too much for your body to handle and for your nervous system to handle? If that has happened, there's a possibility that you could be sensitive or highly sensitive. And you can learn about high sensitivity by referring to Dr. Elaine Aron's work. She is a scientist, an American scientist who has been researching the trait of high sensitivity for over a decade now. And it would help if you can go and learn about your sensitivity as to what is the science behind it and why is it okay to be sensitive. And the fact that it's not really a label, it's not you telling yourself that there's something wrong with you, but it's actually telling yourself that everything is right with you and it has to be celebrated, right? So it's almost like when you find out something new about yourself, like you have a new skill and you never knew that. It's 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 party time, right? You get to celebrate that. And I think sensitivity and learning about your sensitivity is similar. You learn about it with a very positive attitude so that you can embrace it quicker. Now let's get back to the topic. Sensitivity in men, why is it important, you might ask? I love men and I don't want to be biased, but I really am somebody who feels very comfortable with the presence of men around me. And that's because I have a significantly high masculine side, and I love to express my masculine side. And I think when there are more men around me, it becomes even more easier for me to do that, and which is why I feel as though I love the gender. Um, and in doing so, I have come across boys and men of different ages, of different economic backgrounds in different countries, having a similar problem. And the problem is that they feel inhibited to express themselves fully, to be themselves fully, or they feel as though it's not okay for us to cry, or it's not okay for us to say what we want to, or it's not okay for us to be ourselves, or it's not okay for us to show our vulnerability or wear our heart on our sleeves. Because our society, our conditioning has been that men have to be butch or they have to be really strong. And if a man cries or expresses himself, it's almost like shut down, and it's wrong, and it's like seen as though this is not normal. You need to go to a therapist and get some work done on yourself. But actually, emoting is a healthy behavior. Not emoting, in fact, I feel is not healthy, regardless of your gender. So if a man emotes himself, I think it's a very uh, positive of a quality. And I think we really need to embrace that, because I think now we're at a point in time where, because we have spent generations and generations not allowing men to express themselves, not allowing themselves to be themselves fully, or cry, or be vulnerable, or wear their heart on their sleeves, we've come to a point where there is so much conditioning around it that even if somebody who identifies as a man or anything in that umbrella, gender wise, uh, they might feel inhibited to showcase their emotions. Um, and I think that's a very harsh place to be in. And I feel as though for women, it's still culturally accepted. In fact, I think when a woman does not express herself or be vulnerable, it's looked down upon, or it's not really understood, or it's although almost like, why isn't she expressing herself, or why isn't she crying, or why isn't she being vulnerable. And again, that's a different topic, and we must discuss that, as to that's such a stereotype as well, wherein we expect women to all the time cry and emote, when actually women also have trouble emoting sometimes and expressing themselves. But we'll talk about that uh, maybe in another live session. But today, we're going to touch base upon what can we do about this problem, right? Now, we all have men in our life, it's not just me, and you might have your father, your friend, your colleague, your boss, your brother, who might be actually really emotional of a person. And here I'm saying emotional, I'm using the word quite cautiously, and I don't mean it to be a bad word, but a word that um, represents emotions as a whole, and as somebody who um, can feel free to say what they want, especially how they're feeling, right? So, what do we do when we have somebody in our lives we hold very dear to us, and they don't know how to express themselves? And what happens when a boy or a man doesn't know how to express themselves? One of the common challenges that they could have is that they might feel as though they don't have a voice. They don't know as to if their say is counted, or if um, they matter, if what they feel matters, if what they think matters, if their opinions matter, if their perspectives matter. And that can be a harsh experience, to be in a space where you feel unseen or unheard. And when you feel that, you can start dwelling into emotional health problems if that keeps happening chronically. And to avoid that, it's really important for men to start recognizing that it's normal to emote. It could be difficult, that's a different topic altogether, but it's normal to emote, and to not look at emoting a particular emotion, regardless of its intensity. Unless it's violent behavior, then we're saying, oh, we're not supporting that. but or aggressive behavior or rude behavior. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just sheer vulnerability, saying that, hey, I'm not okay, I need help, or saying that I'm not okay with this, I feel angry, or I feel disturbed, or I feel like crying, or I feel like ashamed, or I feel guilty, and so many emotions that uh, one could feel. And again, we classify emotions as just happy and sad, but um, there are so many emotions in the spectrum or umbrella of emotions that we disregard. um, and it's time that we address them, especially in men. And also, why is it important for a man to be vulnerable? I think that although we separate genders as men and women, all of us have a masculine side and a feminine side. And even a man would have a feminine and a masculine side, right? And expressing your masculinity all the time can be exhausting. Expressing your sort of butchness, for the lack of a better word to throw at people who support men not being vulnerable, um, it's not okay. And I think that it's time we address that. Um, I, I think I lost the track of my thought. But what I mean to say here is that um, vulnerability needs to be embraced. And how do we do that? I think the first point here, the first thing to do here is to understand that regardless of anybody's gender, like what gender you may be identifying as, you're first a human being. And if you are a human being, you have a nervous system, you have an emotional body, you have a physical body that needs um, release. And our emotional body needs releases. Our nervous system needs releases. And how do we do that? By emoting. When we don't emote, we just stuff up everything inside ourselves, and then we can land up in having physical challenges, emotional challenges, even soul challenges. And that's where we can start going down really dark paths where we might start feeling helpless, hopeless, and lose interest in life. Feel extremely unseen and unheard to the point that we might forget to live happily or realize that there is happiness around us. And that's not a great place to be in. Wouldn't you agree? Next, once you do realize that you are a human being, and as a human being, you have the right to emote, how do we do that when there is so much conditioning around it? As a woman, I think there is so much conditioning around women not working late hours, women not having multiple streams of income, women not earning beyond a certain earning barrier, or women not doing certain kind of jobs, or women not having to live their own life without anybody's permission. Those are some conditioning around women. And even though I haven't been somebody who has had quite outright problems with conditioning, but I do feel as though I have had to train myself through socio-cultural conditioning around women not getting married uh, before, sorry, women not getting women not staying single after the age of 20 25. Nobody's forced me to get married, but that conditioning has affected my emotional well being from time to time. Feeling that constant pressure to have a partner. So, similarly, I think for men, even though there might not be somebody uh, telling us, telling a man or a boy that you can't cry, you can't express yourself. It might not be direct, but because there's so much conditioning, social cultural conditioning, um, and lack of support for men in general to emote, to be vulnerable, that when you want to emote and be vulnerable, our mind can play tricks on us and remind us that no, you can't. But there's this whole social cultural aspect of it where collectively it's not supported, so we must not do that. And again, that's a harsh place to be in. But recognizing that we have a choice in this matter is what can set us apart from moving from a place of not embracing our emotions or our vulnerability to embracing and expressing ourselves. So, the second step would be to recognize when socio-cultural conditioning is affecting a boy or a man for them to not be able to emote or be vulnerable. Third, I think, and I assume and presume um, that men would massively benefit from being around other men or women um, who embrace showcasing emotions, and they do that themselves as well. Because I feel like it is one thing to say that somebody is emotive in nature, but it's another to actually live that truth. And it's really hard to be vulnerable. When I'm in my heavily masculine periods, um, some days I feel extremely masculine and it's very hard to be vulnerable. I've had to make a conscious effort to dress more feminine to be able to tap into my vulnerability. So I think it would be hard if you're not used to showcasing vulnerability to suddenly show vulnerability without challenges, because it can not feel comfortable at first. It cannot feel safe at first to be vulnerable and showcase vulnerability. So it's very important that we surround ourselves with people who showcase vulnerability so that it's normalized. So that you know that I'm not alone. I have other people in my life who do the same thing. So I'm fine. I can do this. To have that support who gives you confidence to be yourself, wear your heart on your sleeve is very important. Sorry. What else? I think it's also very important for men to um, dress as they wish to. Um, I see a lot of men adapting some feminine styles. And for me, as a woman, I feel different when I wear a particular outfit fit. If it's an outfit that is more masculine, I feel more masculine, and if it's an outfit that's more feminine, I feel more feminine. So I feel like when we dress the part we want to feel, it's easier for us to be vulnerable. And this is just something that I have um, experienced as somebody who's been sensitive, highly sensitive. So I'm not sure if this will work for everyone, but I think it's a good start. It's an easy start. So maybe that'll help you. Let's move on. Why do you feel as though the topic of sensitivity and vulnerability in men must be embraced, right? If you're here, you might believe somewhere. There's somewhere in your belief system that there is a belief that supports it. Um, and I commend you to have for having that belief system. But why is it important? What will happen if we don't embrace vulnerability and sensitivity in men, right? It's not like a tsunami. We're not going to die. It's not like a life threatening problem, at least currently. So, what's going to happen? I think it's going to have a ripple effect on men collectively, children, women, where all of us can start losing a sense of self where masculinity is concerned, but also where femininity is concerned. And that can be a very challenging reality. And sure, today it might not look like a dark reality, but eventually it will. Which is why I think it's really important to make sure that we are tapping into our emotions as a man. Also, is there support for somebody who identifies as a man to be able to get help to showcase their emotions? I would say yes. I stay in India and I know that there are many therapists, psychiatrists, healers, counselors, coaches who help men showcase their true self. And I'm sure, regardless of which part of the world you're in, you might definitely get support for it. If no one supports you, support yourself. Love yourself and support yourself and um, do it for yourself. I think it could require a lot of courage from your part to stand up for your emotions, speak up for your emotions, but it'll save you a lot of trauma, a lot of unnecessary drama, and unnecessary bullshit in your life. So stand up for yourself, my friend. And I know it's not easy. It's never easy. Standing up for yourself is never easy, regardless of your gender, regardless of your age, economic background, religion, or where you come from geographically. It's not easy. But if you start small, for example, if you feel as though somebody is bullying you or being manipulative, because I know a lot of men can be manipulative towards other men and women can be manipulative towards men as well. You can start by taking a step back from that relationship. Again, I'm not a certified psychiatrist, but this is just general advice uh, to step away and pause the relationship. Or you could write your feelings. That's a beautiful way to express yourself. You can write what's troubling you. What is it that you're actually holding on to, right? What is it that's bothering you? What do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? Do you feel angry? Do you feel sad? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel ashamed? Do you feel envious? Do you feel a sense of hatred? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel happy? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel content? What emotion stands out for you? Let's do that exercise now, right? Close your eyes. Come on, close your eyes. Now pick a situation that's really bothering you. Think about it. Think about yourself, think about everybody in that situation, and ask yourself, what is my primary emotion here? Do I feel sad? How does this situation feel in my body? What can I name it? What emotion can I name it? Do I feel as though the people in this situation are making me feel a certain way? If so, what is it? What is that emotion? Oh, do you feel that emotion? Ask that emotion, hey, what's your name? Why are you here? What are you here to tell me? Can I befriend you, dear emotion? When you get an answer, and even if you don't, it's fine, but when you do, and if you don't, at least you've tried, so you should be really proud of yourself for that. I'd like you to tell yourself this is how easy or challenging it could feel for you to feel, recognize, notice an emotion. If it's easy, it's easy. If it's challenging, you've made a start today. That's natural. But when you were doing this exercise, what didn't stand out for you? Did you ever think that I'm a man or a boy, so I should not feel this way? And if you didn't feel that way, you don't have to feel that way in other situations as well, is what I wanted to convey. Today, it is the situation that you thought of and reflected on. Tomorrow, there would be another situation that's happening in your reality, and you might get a feeling as though I'm a man or a boy, so I can't express myself. In that moment, I would appreciate it if you come back to this moment whenever you're watching this video where you did this exercise, and if you didn't, I'm talking about if you didn't think about being a man or a boy when you noticed an emotion in your body when you watch this video, I'd like you to remind yourself of that in other situations as well, where you feel challenged to express yourself as a man or a boy, or even as somebody with a very high masculine aspect, like I have. Doesn't it feel freeing to know that we have emotions? We're human. It feels freeing to me. I mean, if we didn't have emotions, we'd be robots living in a different galaxy. We'd be AI. And we're not AI. We can't be AI. So why try to be AI or robotic? I understand that tapping into your emotions can be really difficult, especially if you're new to it. I know that when I started off, when I was probably 16 or 17, it was very difficult for me to recognize my emotions, notice them. Today I'm 32, and sometimes it's still difficult. But the fact that you tried tells me, and should tell you, must tell you, that you're interested in showcasing your emotions. You're interested in understanding your emotions, and you're interested in breaking out of the barrier of not being able to express yourself, regardless of your gender. So, my friend, if you've come this far, you've watched this video for like 30 minutes straight, I really would appreciate it if you took some time to make changes in your life and make baby steps to feeling free for expressing yourself. With that, I'd like to say it's time for me to say goodbye. My name is Pranita Rao. I am a coach for sensitive, highly sensitive people. I use tools like Reiki, art, abstract art, angelic healing, energy healing, and coaching to support individuals globally. If you're someone who's looking for support, you can use the link in my bio to book an appointment with me. I have a ton of resources, websites, blogs, even a course that helps sensitive individuals. If you're interested, you can find the links to them in my bio as well. And feel free to watch my other videos and educate yourself and be empowered as a sensitive person or a highly sensitive person or just as an individual. Thank you for staying with me until the end, and thank you for your time, your emotions, and for being human and for being a man. Bye.